Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand in hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary disputes, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian Law and Policy Practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy tonight with temperatures getting up to 14. Then Saturday, cloudy and a high of 30. The locally owned Vinaigrette has been offering the finest olive oils and vinegars since 2009. That's Vinaigrette, Xerxes Avenue and 50th Street in Minneapolis, or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunjahade, which means distant thunder, and I'm Ho-Chunk and enrolled member of the Ho-Chunk Nation, and I'm also, my name is Robert Pilot, and my colonized name and taxpayer name is Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events all over Turtle Island. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Alliant Energy, powering beyond.
Hey, I'll have the news. And I was discussing this with one of the station owners of where we're at, and we're in a new station out in Waukesha, Wendy.
Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Yeah, right, a suburb of Milwaukee.
Yes.
And we're proud to be there, and we talk about a lot of things here that you don't hear anywhere else, and we really want to give a shout out to our allies, our white allies, and our whole rainbow here listening to the show, and hearing from our perspective, and again, you don't hear any of this on regular radio.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get any further, let's go to Ogama with the news and events here. Ogama, welcome as always, and Pinigigi for what you do for our show and the nation, or the nations.
Oh, she is on
Okay, she's a
mute.
ventriloquist right now, but she's moving her. It's a reverse for tranquil. I can't even talk.
Ventriloquist.
Yeah, because you can see the lips move, but you can't hear anything. And
Right.
a ventriloquist, you can't see the lips move and you hear something.
That's right.
Are you there, Ogama? No, you're
Oh.
still muted.
You're still muted.
Yeah. Wow.
She's going to figure that out. Well, that's okay. Yeah. So, Robert, I'm glad it's warming up because I've been really, really cold lately. And I also want to just give Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. They're in Minneapolis on 2901 East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis. Last year, we got our a wood burning stove switched over to gas.
Yeah.
And I've been using that gas fireplace every single day in this cold weather. It really makes the room really nice and toasty.
Well, and do a quick ad for them. Last year we were hearing that it could be written off on your taxes. And so we're looking forward to that this year.
Oh, okay. We can do that because it's a home improvement and it's energy efficient.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the room's toasty in there and the dogs are passed out. The cats hanging
Everybody,
out.
as soon as they see the fireplace, they come and like cozy around the fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Ogama had to go out and then she'll come back in.
Maybe.
Hi.
Oh, hey, there she is.
It's pretty cold up there, so I'm sure things are freezing in that basement she's in now.
Things are a little glitchy up in the North Country here, but not too bad. I think I just accidentally disconnected my microphone and never reconnected it earlier today. So my apologies for that, everybody. Hello, Buju. I'm Ogama Ganuikwe. I am from the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and I bring news and information here on Native Roots Radio. Today, I'm going to start with something more local as we're broadcasting out of the Twin Cities. There is an Amber Alert that has been issued for a 1-year-old boy in the back of a stolen SUV. The SUV was taken near Bloomington Avenue and Lake Street this afternoon at about 3:30 p.m. The child is a black male, and the vehicle is a white 2008 Buick Enclave with the license plate HTH234. If you are in and around the Twin Cities area or even outside the Twin Cities area and you did not get that alert with that information, I just wanted to make sure you all have that because every child matters. And it's unfortunate that these things happen. I think this happened earlier, within the last 12 months, right, Robert, that there was another case similar to this, right?
Well, it's that time of the year, Ogama, where people leave their cars on, but don't leave your cars on with kids or pets or anybody at this weather.
Was it a carjacking or you said it was a stolen vehicle?
It says a missing 1-year-old child who was inside a vehicle stolen in Minneapolis near Bloomington and East Lake Street. So it doesn't give any more information about that. And, as a parent, as somebody that, knows that sometimes your baby only sleeps in the car seat or something like that.
Yeah.
I totally feel for this family, and I think most people who would, step in to take a vehicle don't intend to take a child with it. So hopefully they will return the child safely. The child's name is Ray Ray Powell, and he was wearing a gray t-shirt, black pants, and white shoes at the last time that he was seen. And the adult black male was wearing a black sweater. That was the person who took the vehicle that he was in. So keep your eyes peeled if you're in the Twin Cities for that little baby. And I don't really have a good segue. But I do want to mention that tonight is the first Friday film and discussion on the LN3 7 Teachings of the Anishinaabe in Resistance film, which was directed by Suze Taylor. It's a 38-minute frontline documentary on the efforts to stop the fossil fuel expansion and encourage energy security. It goes over the predatory tar sands industry regulation system starting in 2019, which placed a fifth of the world's fresh water in danger and continues to endanger it every day. It includes Indigenous water protectors Winona LaDuke, Tara Hauska, and the poet and hip hop artist Thomas X. It starts at 6:30 and goes until 8 p.m. tonight. It is the airing of the documentary and then a discussion to follow. You can register for a Zoom link to the film at tinyurl.com/JanFFF2022. That's tinyurl.com/Jan for January, FFF for Friday, First Friday, and First Friday Films, and 2022 for the year. So it will be streamed live on Building Unity's website, Building Unity Wisconsin, as well. So I might try to catch the tail end of that discussion, even if I miss the documentary tonight. That sounds like something really exciting. And then again, keeping it local, the Circle News did a really wonderful article just earlier this week talking about the new public service building at 505 4th Avenue South in Minneapolis, showcasing 17 artworks in the new Civic building. And among the paintings and sculptures were works by Twin Cities native artists Rory Wakemup, Marlena Miles, and Angela Two Stars. So it's really... Go ahead.
Yeah, I said, yay, Rory.
Yay, Rory. Yes, Rory was helpful to us too as we were setting up the store, and he's been an avid water protector. We do enjoy Rory, but so I guess they were chosen from a field of 170 artists from across the U.S., and they are providing the art for that portion. So Rory Wakemup is Boys Fort, Ojibwe. Marlena Miles is Spirit Lake, Dakota, Mohegan, and Muskogee. And then it doesn't actually list the information or tribal information that I can readily see in this article offhand for Angela Two Stars. But the artwork that's in there is really, really stunning. And I might have to go down and check out some public works building in the Twin Cities just to see the art and to see native art. Wendy, what was the building that you talked about in your local government that still has a really unfortunate mural?
That's downtown City Council.
That's the City Council, yeah.
City Council in downtown
they had
St. Paul.
These plaques with... I don't remember exactly what was in the murals, but it was...
Well, it was definitely... these soldiers handing out blankets to Native Americans, and for one, which is really, really creepy to think about all the smallpox and everything that's been given to Native Americans through blankets. So it's bizarre to look at that. And again, Pinigigi, please, you guys, be careful when you're running your cars to warm them up. Up next, State Senator Mary Kunesh. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Bonjour relatives, my name is Deanna Sandycloud. I'm from the Red Lake Nation, and I live in Minneapolis today. As the weather gets colder, you're probably going to spend more time indoors, but it's important to stay safe and healthy. The COVID-19 pandemic is still not over, and now the flu season is upon us. So protect you and your loved ones by getting vaccinated against both the flu and COVID-19. COVID booster shots have now approved for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And you're eligible if you're over 65 and if you're over 18 and have underlying health conditions or work in a high-risk setting. What's cool is your booster shot does not need to be of the same brand as your original series of shots. And you can receive a booster shot of any brand that's available to you. Children over the age of 5 are now eligible for a vaccine as well. So let's protect our relatives in Indian country this winter and get vaccinated. Be a vaccinative like me. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov. Miigwech Bizendawian.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
When we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and it seems like it's been a while since we've seen Mary, other than I saw her down at the 38+2 memorial down in Mankato, where she spoke. And spoke very nicely and brilliantly. Wow, I'm having trouble with words. It must be cold. But also, we have a new audience now. We're in Milwaukee now, and we're on 540 Wendy AM everywhere, WAUK, and then also 101 FM, the Shaw for I guess
Waukesha.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
that's I like that. So. We haven't seen you in a while, and I'm wondering too if you could tell a little bit about yourself, because we have new listeners all the time, and I always forget to introduce you, but you are the first Native American state senator ever elected in Minnesota, and that's something that we should talk about every time we see you.
Well, thank you very much for having me back here. Yeah, it has been a while, Robert. For those of you who don't know me, I am State Senator Mary Kunesh. I just finished my first year in the Minnesota Senate, where I'm the first woman Native American senator. There were, I think there were two men before me in the past, Native men, but never before a Native woman. And so I'm in the Senate. I served 4 years in the House as well, where I was able to get a lot of good work done for our Native folks. And before that, I was a teacher. I was a library media specialist at the elementary and middle school level. So I feel like that prepped me very well for the legislature. When I went from elementary school to middle school, people would say, why do you want to do that? Those middle school kids are, they're awful, they're disrespectful, they're blah, blah, blah. And I found that those middle school kids were just elementary kids in a bigger body. And so when I got to the Senate or to the legislature, people were like, why would you want to do that? Politics, yuck. And I say, well, politicians are no more than middle schoolers in a bigger, older body. So that's how I approach things a lot of the time.
Well, I know, and again, we're in Milwaukee, and we're also in Madison, and we're in Chicago, and all over Turtle Island. And one of the things that I know about you and your work is the MMIW. I know Wisconsin's a little behind on that, and if they ever need any help with that, they could reach out to you because of your experience and what you've done. Could you tell our audience just a little bit about that? Because it's just it's earth-shattering, really.
Well, I'm always very happy to talk about the work that we've done around the missing and murdered Indigenous people here in Minnesota. And I think we have, in Minnesota, had the rippling effect. I know that Wisconsin now has their own task force, but when I was in the House of Representatives, I passed legislation that created a missing and murdered Indigenous women's task force here in Minnesota. And in spite of COVID, we were able to get that report done, that task force, within 18 months. And as a consequence of that, we had, close to well over a dozen recommendations or mandates coming out of that task force. And the very first one was to create a permanent office within our state government. So Minnesota, again, is leading the way by creating a permanent missing and murdered Indigenous relatives office in our state government to continue the work that we know is so important. in Minnesota, our Native American women experience violence, are raped, are murdered at higher rates than any other group of people. And I think we can say that, pretty safely say that is the same across our nation, across Canada, anywhere that there is colonization that has happened. You know, women were seen as tools, or you know, use, abuse, throw away, and that kind of mentality has continued over the hundreds and hundreds of years, and that continues to be the case. So we are working very hard within our different agencies and offices in our state government, within our county public safety, education, all of those sort of things to really address this violence. And I think most of us in Indian country know the historic reasons for such a thing. As I said, colonization, sex trafficking from way back when, of course, being put on reservations and oftentimes having to you know, use your body as a way of feeding yourself and your family. But then, of course, the boarding schools and the foster care and adoption, all of these things have contributed to the missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, because we know it's not just the women, it's our girls, our boys, our men, our two-spirit folks that experience these levels of violence and murder at such terribly high rates. And so we're the first in the nation to have a permanent MMIR office, and we will continue to do the work that is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I want to just give a shout out to Joshua, who mentioned that we aren't talking about the FDL child abuse story. We talked about that yesterday, and we had Tasha on, and I just wanted to give him a quick shout out to that we were on it yesterday, and we have no updates today. So Mary, now one of the things too that's interesting, I feel like in the next step, you're transitioning into something that really makes sense, and that's MMIW for all races, or is it African American? What is the next goal?
Yeah, well, you know, when I began the work of putting together the task force, and because I'm a library media specialist, I do a lot of my own research. And of course, really, it was blatantly clear how the intersectionality of the violence against Native American women and African American women are so closely intertwined. When we think about going back to slavery days, or you know, we go back to when our Native folks married or had children and families with the African American slaves or the freed slaves as well. They're very intertwined. The histories are very similar. And I, of course, chose to work on the Native American MMIW first. But once we were successful with that, Minnesota turned around and did another great first. We also created the first missing and murdered African American women's task force. And I did that with Representative Ruth Richardson in the House just this past session, so in 2021. And that task force has been created. I've been to 2 of the task force meetings so far, and we'll continue to address this violence against women, especially in our communities. If we have to do it one group at a time, we'll do it. But so often what we put in place for one group of women is going to benefit the next group of women as well.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. That's exciting. Hey, one of the things too, before we wrap up this segment, I know we talked to Heather, and then we hear from, and we've talked over the years with Lieutenant Governor. When she walks into the rotunda, we were just talking about St. Paul City Hall, or the City Council Hall, and that there's military people, where they're handing out blankets, and it's like, oh my gosh,
The artwork around the room, the big panels painted with military people handing blankets to the Native American people.
So it must be eerie. Thanks, Wen. It must be eerie to walk into our own Capitol and see all this kind of art from the, I don't know, from the 30s and the 20s that put us as weak and meek. And I don't know. Lieutenant Governor always talked about coming into the Capitol and saying that, it's hard because we don't feel like we belong there, but you're busting down walls.
Yeah, it's true. When I was elected to the House, I was only the third Native American and Native American woman to be elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives. And throughout our state capitol, there are plenty of reminders of the domination of the white settlers and the white man reflected in that history. We have two huge portraits or pictures that were removed from the governor's reception hall that showed like a Catholic religious dominance against Native American communities and women. Very nubile, bare-breasted woman looking adoringly at this religious man, and it's of course the propaganda, or it's the viewpoint, the vision of white supremacy. And our Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, was at that time a state representative, and she was able to convince them to remove it from the reception room. But now it is located up on the third floor of our state capitol. People are able to visit it, and definitely we have been able to use that as a learning tool. And I do that often.
We'll be right back listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, and host of the Bradcast. Weeknights at 7 on AM 950.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks. Call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we got our wood stove to lower our carbon footprint and to harvest our own renewable energy. We discovered more. Fire offers both stillness and engagement. It connects us to the basic and often overlooked moments that enrich our lives. It opens the mind to music, reading, and being with those you love. We gather our friends, our family, and our minds around the fire.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, it is our job to find a place for fire that works in your life. We have a diverse selection of fireplace products. Clean wood burning, convenient gas burning, and easy to install electric stoves and fireplaces for inside your home or outdoors too.
Fire does more than offer comfort from the cold. Fire warms the heart. At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, there are so many ways to discover your place for fire, with over 35 working indoor and outdoor fireplaces on display at the corner of East Franklin Avenue and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy tonight with temperatures getting up to 14. Then Saturday, cloudy and a high of 30. The locally owned Vinaigrette has been offering the finest olive oils and vinegars since 2009. That's Vinaigrette, Xerxes Avenue and 50th Street in Minneapolis, or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Oh, hey, we have State Senator Mary Kunesh on.
Mm-hmm.
And she is the first Native American woman to be elected as state senator, and we're always proud to have her on. And I was thinking back the days, Mary, when we were doing a 2-hour show on Saturdays, and you'd send us pieces for your segment, and how fun that was too. Because I mean, you were on vacation sending us stuff, and it was awesome. So it's great to see you, and you've been on, I bet you, over 2.5 years, and this is our we just finished our 4th season, and this is our going into our 5th year of being on the radio, and you've been a big part of it, and we want to just really give you a big peeny geeky thank you. And so what surprised you about being on radio? Have many people come up to you? Because I know, like, Wendy and I were super surprised the first time people came up to us and said, hey, I recognize your voice. I hear you on the radio. What kind of little anecdotes do you have about that?
Yeah, that has happened to me a number of times in kind of some of the oddest places where I will say something and somebody will come up to me and say, oh yeah, I heard you talking about that on the radio. Thanks for sharing that. Or one of the most rewarding stories was when 2 years ago, when we were when it was election time, and we were working really hard in Minnesota to get out the Native vote, and we talked about it a lot on Native Roots Radio, how important it was to vote, how to vote, how the whole process. We tried to educate, as well as the census. And I was up north once, and I was talking to a bunch of folks about, Native folks, about running for office, but also your responsibility to vote. And these two elder ladies came up to me, and they said, well, we've never voted. We don't know how, we don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, but it's so important, your vote really does count. Sometimes elections are so close, it's within a few people, and we've seen that happen in the last couple of years. And so I got them to promise, we registered them to vote right there. We signed them up to get a vote, a ballot in the mail, talked about how it could do. And then on the election day, I got a Facebook message from one of the elders who said, we voted for the first time in our life. And they actually didn't know that they could vote in general elections. if you remember, Native Americans didn't get the right to vote until what, the 40s, 50s. And so it's like nobody really told them that they could and should go vote or how to do it. And so that was one of the more exciting stories that has come out of being on the radio. But it's media is so important, and the radio is so important to folks that aren't able to access different varieties of news and real information. And so I am so thankful to you for putting this radio station and getting it going. But if I could just for a moment digress, I would like to give a shout out to our Native brothers and sisters in Chicago. And Chicago is kind of has a soft spot for me, not only because my 3 children lived there for a number of years. I thought they would never come home because they loved it. But I have a cousin, Susan Kelly Power. Her Indian name is Gathering of Storm Clouds Woman. She's from the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation of where my grandfather is from. Those two were cousins. And my grandfather came to the Twin Cities, and Susan Kelly Power went to Chicago, where she was very active in the Native American community, and actually she was the founder of the American Indian Center in Chicago. Oh. And so she was very instrumental in, providing community and resource. If we think about our community center here in the Twin Cities, very similar to that. And then her daughter, my cousin Mona Susan Power, is an author, and she has written a number of just fabulous books. I remember reading the first one of hers that I read. It was called The Grass Dancer. And,
wow.
It was really great. And I know that Susan Kelly Power was a great storyteller. In my family, I mean, we love to tell stories. And my grandfather told us stories, which is how we really connected and kept, the ties to our Native ancestry. And so those of you in Chicago, I feel like I have that strong connection, and I myself have enjoyed visiting that place a number of times when I was in Chicago.
Yeah, I took a class. She was a professor at the University of Minnesota. Yep. I took a class with her. I think it was Native Studies or Indian Studies.
Yep.
Yeah, there's the book, and she was awesome. Definitely a great book. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, small world we live in here.
We are all connected. We're all related, one way or the other.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, this is great because I needed a book for my next book club, and this would be awesome for me to bring this one up. So,
and I have a couple copies of it here too.
Oh, that's fantastic! Surprise. Then I don't have to go out and buy it.
Right.
Yeah, I know that Mona Susan has another book coming out very soon. It's sort of like a mystery spirits sort of thing. So watch for that, or I'll let you know when it comes out.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we're always looking for more authors for our store. Which I don't know if you know this, State Senator, but we're going to be another 3 months we signed up for, so we'll be in there at least till June. So we're excited about doing more store stuff, aren't you, Wendy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've spent some hours there during the week, and it's a fun place to be in. Good space.
Yeah, and I saw you rocking a Resist jacket too that we saw when you were doing your talk down in Mankato. So I'll give you a quick shout out there too. That was awesome.
Yes, that was that. I loved wearing that. Yep.
Yeah. So what, that's fun. I think one of the funny things again was with us when we first came on the radio and people said, hey, you have a great show. And it's just like, what? Really? Because we're stressed out every time we're done with the show. When we were first on, it's just like, is anybody listening? And then the producer at the time said, well, there's just 20,000 people that just listening to that. And we're like, what? So it's we've expanded our brand, but it's also more relaxed, and we're in our home studio, and it goes right to the mothership and sends it all over Turtle Island. And that's kind of saved us too, because we never had to go. We did this before COVID, and we haven't been to the studio since.
No, we're at home, but it's our guests that fuel the show.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you broke it through, Mary. You were the first politician to come on, and I begged you every time I saw you, and you go, I'm just going to go on the show and get rid of this guy for begging me to be on the show all the time. And
Yeah, but I'm really fortunate because it has also allowed me to meet and work with so many other incredible Native folks. When you used to have that Sunday symposium. I mean, you had incredible guests from across the country, even from Canada, if I remember. And, for me, I was just like, wow, this is so great. So I am very appreciative of it as well.
I always perk up when we had like Madonna Thunderhawk on, who was at everything.
Yeah.
She's 80 years old. I saw her at a couple of years ago at Wounded Knee, and she was on a horse. But prior to that, she was at Alcatraz. She was at Wounded Knee. She was at all these protests and Standing Rock, and all of them in between there, and hadn't missed one. And just listening to her, and one of the things I try to really do with my full-time job is she's how did you get all this stuff done? I'd ask her, and she said that less people making decisions and streamlining it. And I've been trying to do that with my new job, but it's pretty difficult. And I know it's difficult for you to be a state senator but you do things with a small amount of people. You have the coalition, the BIPOC coalition that's strong. I don't know if you want to talk about that just a little bit here. We got a couple minutes.
Sure. So when I was first elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives, I was elected with probably the largest group of diversity that Minnesota has ever had. We had the first Somali, we had Latino, we have more Hmong, African American. Just this beautiful array of BIPOC folks were elected. And we looked at each other and said, we're kind of a force to be reckoned with. If we united here and created our own caucus, we could get some really good work done for the communities that have been least invested in for so long. And so we created the very first Native American caucus that Minnesota has ever had, but we also created the Posse Caucus, People of Color Indigenous. And we worked very closely with each other, taking into consideration the neighborhoods and the communities that we represented individually, folks of color, but also our non-color folks, and really putting together the kind of legislation that is going to make positive difference for not only our own communities, but for all of Minnesota. And those progressive values that we all brought with our own unique lens has made a huge difference in Minnesota.
Wow. And you have made a huge difference in Minnesota. I mean, that's a great segue. We really appreciate you and appreciate you coming on. And it's going to be great for our new audience that stop in and listen because we need all the allies we can get, and we're spreading the news. And I really appreciate you, State Senator Mary Kunesh.
Appreciate all of you as well. Happy New Year to everybody. Stay warm.
Ooh.
Happy New Year.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry. If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
Aho, relatives. My name is George McCauley, Umaha Nation. I'm a citizen of the Omaha Nation in Nebraska. As we head into wintertime, many of us will be back together indoors. It's important to make sure you receive your COVID booster shot. Older Americans are more at risk for complications for COVID-19. All 3 COVID vaccine boosters have been approved. Find a vaccine site by calling 651-304-9986 or go to vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm awake.
We are Alusa Nation.
So welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Wendy, I know you weren't here yesterday.
Yeah.
We gave you a day off, much needed day off.
I appreciate it.
But we had a guest on at the end of the show, and I'm wondering if Ogama can update people, maybe give a little background. People who didn't listen.
Yeah,
like
give a
yourself.
background because I didn't hear what happened yesterday. So I'd love to hear a little bit of what happened and if there are any updates.
Are you
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So last night and this morning, there was a protest outside the Carleton County Family Services buildings due to a foster care issue. So McGeezy Will Fly was protesting the ongoing abuse of Native children in the foster care system. There are currently 2 children from the Fond du Lac Reservation that are in custody and possibly adopted by Fond du Lac foster parents, but are also subjects of abuse. So currently, the McGeezy Will Fly team is, they posted up in front of Carleton County Family Services most of the day. And the updates that I have coming in from the comments is that they were currently trying to pressure the county, the Carleton County offices with an emergency injunction to remove the children from that home. They do believe they have photo and video evidence of the abuse the children are being subjected to, and they are working really hard to fight for those children. So it's really an unfortunate situation, but McGeezy Will Fly, which used to be known as Camp McGeezy, is very this is an issue that's very close to their hearts, and they will be working on that as well as in the future. They hope to stand up against homelessness camp evictions and work on pressuring Catholic churches to bring more children home from boarding schools. So if you're curious about what's happening after Line 3, most of these organizations and groups are doing these types of actions that are really important to the community because, there's no shortage of issues for us to take up speed about.
Hey, thanks for, giving us an update on that. And I know it's important, and you were going to talk about it early on, but we had some technical difficulties, but we really appreciate Tasha and her crew. McGeezy means eagle, and I guess Ojibwe, right? Yeah. And so just to let our allies out there that are listening know what that meant. Also, too, if you ever get a chance to watch the documentary Blood Memory. Thank you, Wendy. Blood Memory, and that's Sandy Whitehawk, who is a story about her and being adopted. And one of the things I asked her years ago when that documentary first came out a few years ago, what could we do to change this foster care system? And she point blank, Wendy said, give all that money that you give foster parents, give it to the parent. And that would take care of a lot of stuff. Of course, it's a little more complicated, but wow, what a great answer too.
It was a good answer. So, there's a lot of parents out there who do have really difficulty bringing up their own children because of poverty and drug addiction and so on and so forth. But if you give those parents the tools that they need and financial support that they need, then the children could stay in their families, which is really an important thing.
Very important.
Yeah.
Hey, I know we only got a few minutes, and you always have some fun facts here with our
It's Fun Fact Friday.
With we talk about our sacred animals for people that are just tuning in, and
Exactly.
And all animals are sacred as far as Native Americans are concerned.
Exactly.
So
I appreciate it. And I had this article I've been reading for the last couple of Fridays. It's funny because it's from Popular Mechanics. You wouldn't think that Popular Mechanics would have an article about any type of animals, but this article is written by Emily Schiffer, and it's the 40 most extreme animals on the planet. These incredible creatures will do just about anything to survive. So we just had a few left that I didn't get to. I think we were on like number 12, and I may or may have, I can't remember where we left off.
Let's hear one, and we'll tell you if we repeat it or not.
Yeah, let me know, because sometimes I read them and I don't remember if I just read them for myself or I said it on the radio. So the Tarantula Hawk.
Yes, you have.
Oh, okay. It's a really bad bug bite.
No, you haven't.
I didn't.
Wait,
okay.
sorry.
So it's a Tarantula Hawk, and it leaves the nastiest bug bites. Don't let the name fool you. This is not a spider or a bird. It's actually a wasp. But this insect leaves one of the most painful bug bites, according to Dr. Justin Smith, who created the Schmidt Sting Pain Index to measure the severity of bug bites on a scale of 1 to 4. The Tarantula Hawk is one of just 2 insects that scores a 4. So you don't want to get bitten by a Tarantula Hawk by any means. I think we did talk about the jaguars that have killer jaws. Jaguars kill their prey with one bite of piercing skill or neck of their prey that come from behind, killing it instantly. And by the way, jaguars, and I did read this, I remember, jaguars and black jaguars are the same species. The lack of markings is due to a mutation that occurs in approximately 6% of the wild population. I did talk about the hippos, and I talked about the Komodo dragon.
Are you talking about jaguars or what are you talking?
Jaguars, the cats.
That's a jaguar.
Jaguar?
Yeah, that's that New York accent. What, Ogama, is that jaguar or jaguar? What is it?
Well, it's funny because it is my New York accent, because I was talking to this woman, and her name is, you guys say Audra?
Audrey.
But I say Audra. Like I went and called her Audra.
You're making up a language now.
I'm
Audrey.
not. That's how a person from New York would actually say it.
I know you guys throw R's in there and everything.
We do.
Oh, sorry.
R's and S's. We don't know what we're talking about. I'm trying to get back to where I was here, and I can't remember. Well, let's see here. I think I got it. All right, let's see. The African buffaloes practice democracy.
What?
Researchers have noted that African buffalo herds practice voting. The process only involves adult females, and it all takes place with physical cues. It happens when individual buffaloes register their travel preferences by standing up, looking in one direction, and then lying back down. So these are females of the buffaloes, and they practice which way they should be going. Beavers have metal teeth. Here, Robert, here's the thing here you need. Beavers have metal teeth. Beavers' teeth never stop growing, so they chew to keep them at reasonable length, but their teeth are also built to go through and chomping. They have an enamel made with iron, which gives them an orange hue, but also help them strong and resistant to acid. What? It's true. Desert locusts are ravenous. Locusts have been feared since the days of the Bible, and for good reason. When they come to town, they literally destroy everything. A swarm of desert locusts can be as large as 460 square miles, and they consume 423 million pounds of foliage per day. So you don't want any locusts coming to kill your... and we'll finish up next Friday with the last few of these incredible extreme animals of the planet.
Hey, I want to thank everyone for listening.
Mhm.
It's been a great week for radio.
Yeah.
And I want to thank State Senator Mary Kunesh, Ogama, and of course you, Wendy, and our listening audience. I don't really give you guys as much credit as I think. We need all the allies we can get. I would like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to this show, you are part of the resistance. Peeny Gigi to our guests, and I just want to say we're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated.
See you Monday.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show, and I'm coming to KT.